Hello, Ben here from Supercoach Insider, bringing you my team into round 10. So before we move on, SC Insider 100, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok as well. Like, subscribe, get amongst it. I do apologize for those who have been probably keeping an eye out. I haven't released my team reveal for the last 2 weeks. Got on for last week for an absolute mammoth pod. I've told the boys already I can't do that this week. So I said, consider me Nicolas Cage. I said, because it'll be gone in 60 minutes. So that'll be tonight's podcast. Stay tuned for that as well. But yeah, look, it's been, I guess, a bit of a busy week. I disclosed last week, obviously, there's been a couple of people pass away around my sort of age for the last couple of weeks. Plus, work's been hectic, baby's been hectic, and all the rest of it. So it has been something I've been meaning to do. Plus, my team has been tested. And I'll get into that anyway in just a moment. But look, it's, one of those situations. So work's been full on, someone left, and I'm pretty much now taking over that role and responsibility as well. So it's a whole lot of other stuff going in there as well. Plus, I also had a prac student as well, where you a lot of your spare time is then monitoring, discussing, giving feedback and all the rest of it. So that's where we've been at. But I am excited to talk to you about my team and hopefully help you for some of your teams as well going forward. 2,116, I knew it was going to be a little testing because Ridley got knocked out. I was definitely like, yes, this is my chance to get rid of Ridley, right? As in, anyone that had him, again, key reminder, in future years, don't pick breakouts necessarily. He was my kind of one breakout along with, like Setterfield, I thought for like the cash generation. I had Zeeble as that mid-pricer kind of guy, but I didn't really have a breakout as far as premium per se. Value ones like Taranto, etc., I still considered them to be not really a breakout candidate because they were just role dependent. We thought Ridley had the role, he just did not have the role 100% of the time. So for me, I looked at getting rid of him, but I heard others even talking about how much they were keen to jump on him at like 400k or below. So at the moment, everyone's really strapped for cash. They're looking for value. People are looking for people at 400k or 450 or anything under fives, basically, because we can't keep spending 600,000 for premiums. So it's really about prioritizing the key targets that you really need and then looking for value everywhere. So that's pretty much where it's at. So for me, I kind of kept Ridley for the sake of, I knew people were going to try and target him soon. I'd already lost like 80k on him, and it was going to cost me 2 trades just to fix him. So I'm like, okay, is it worth me paying 2 trades now to fix this premium? Maybe. Or I could use those 2 trades to upgrade someone else later. So if a lot of people are going to bring Ridley in super cheap and maybe he comes out running 90s to 100, then I'll probably have to just take that at this point. And those 2 trades I could use elsewhere. So if another premium gets injured, I could use it there. If maybe I get fortunate with some value, then maybe I could look at trying to get someone else also that's cheap to be able to loophole instead and use the 2 trades that way. So that's how I've kind of looked at the situation where, look, it sucks. I don't like it. I had the extra rookie this week. I still upgraded. I brought in Steele. Side note, what a bad week for premium scores and injuries, which we'll get into the podcast anyway. But my God, the amount of carnage and doubt as well going into the week. I mean, Marshall was under a cloud. I was accepting the fact I was going to cop a donut if that was the case. So for those who've been traveling a little bit, I did flag this a little early on that I thought my rank would probably slide a little bit through this mid-period just because I spent a lot of trades early. The rookies, I got some wrong, so I didn't bring in Van Ruin. That was a big mistake. I went Clark instead of who was it? Ryan. Samson Ryan. Bad mistake there. So like a few of those mistakes here. So that's the difference at this point. And I've still been trying to be aggressive to kind of keep up and hold my spot. But I did know it was a little bit temporary. So I was like, look, let's just keep, burning the midnight oil, just keep risking it, keep bringing people in. But that risk has kind of backfired, which was always the risk with it because Chris has been upgrading his bench players, freeing up cash that way to improve points on field. I've been trying to improve my premiums on field, but then relying on some rookie luck, and I haven't had that rookie luck. So, I mean, Sin Cotter, who I thought was on field, obviously didn't do well, got a 33. And when you sort of have a look at those scenarios there where I didn't have Ridley, so Seamus Mitchell, well done, mate, 74. That's exactly what I wanted from you. Kept Ashcroft because, the record he had at the Gabba I thought was quite impressive. Copped a Hopper, low score there, so Hopper has to go. He's injured. I don't think he's getting up at all for this week. So Hopper has to go. Chandler I had on field as well. I was expecting maybe a good score. Didn't work out. He's now primed to drop cash. I think his break-even's over 100, so he has to go. Which, a couple of weeks before the buys, it's not ideal to have to cut people around this point with only 2 rounds before buys, but Hopper and Chandler have to go, which then goes, okay, well, what do you do from there? So Samson Ryan's still doing well enough for me. I played him on field. So a lot of the premiums I didn't, some of them didn't fire. So Goulden, that's the one it looked like a great decision. So there's 2 lessons for me next year. Number 1, don't buy a breakout that's at premium price. Just go and get the other genuine premiums. So I'd rather go down. Like if you miss a day cost, then so you just grab them. That's how it works. You just kind of try and get on there as soon as you can. Stewart and Dawson were probably the 2 that I had locked in more than anything. Doherty I probably shouldn't have had, but I would have had to force Stewart trade anyway to probably day cost at that point, so it might have worked out. And then the other one is the other error. Oh yeah, don't sell the farm. So I sold the farm to get Clary. I looked at the run that they were having, and I was like, I've got to have him. Like I just have to have him. At that point, I didn't really have a captaincy option, so I was relying on Bont and Laird as my captaincy. Who knew that Bont was probably the bona fide captain we all wanted and needed? So at that point in time, early in the season, I was like, right, I need Clary, and he still hasn't dropped much in price. So I would have had to pay up for him anyway, but I could have got him last week instead of me selling Goulden, etc., to get there. So that's been the painful part. Looked like a great decision when Goulden dropped. It was a really low score, like a 40 or a 50. And I was like, okay, that's good for me. I might be able to even get him back if I wanted to around low 400s, 440 or whatever. And then he's just gone like 150, 150, like huge. And then to be painful is that now Callum Mills is out 4 to 6 weeks with a calf injury, a moderate calf injury. So he's getting bulk CBAs and I am not paying 556,000 or whatever he is. So I'm just going to, every time you see him go big, just please tag me. I do deserve it. Strategy's all out the window this year. So look, tag me anytime. I deserve that one 100%. So he's averaging 108 as a forward, which is awesome. I actually looked to bring him in last week. But what held me off was the forwards coming in with DPP. So I looked at him going, okay, yes, he's a good option. They play North in a couple of weeks, and I thought he's a good price, so I should probably just grab him in because, again, value. I decided to go for Steele for value instead, thinking that, well, hang on, you've got Gawn can go forward and Walsh forward. So I was like, well, if I've got 2 spots there, who would I rather as a forward? One of those 2 over Goulden. So that's what kind of flipped me from bringing him in. If DPP wasn't an issue, then I would have just brought him in or maybe even kept him. Maybe not. No, I wouldn't have kept him. I'm selfish. So that's the train of thinking there. So look, he's definitely a value option there. If you're looking at Cameron, who's someone I'm definitely considering, but again, based on value. But then I'm like, well, Gawn, I got for 500K. He'll be going into the forward line in 2 weeks anyway. So do I want Cameron and Gawn? Gawn will be my cover in 2 weeks' time. Do I want to pay up and try and get Walsh in my forward line instead of Cameron? Probably. So that's the difficult situation at this point, but Cameron does provide value. The issue is you have to buy him before you can really see if his role has changed. Sometimes, Cox did really well last week, which throws red flags out there. Maybe they'll put him mainly as the hit-out ruckman and then play Darcy forward for a little bit more, getting himself back into it. You don't know. And his break-even's low as well. It's like 50. So you're going to have to bring him in straight away because if he goes 100, I think it's about 5K per 10 points over. So he's going up about 25K. He'll be 520K. Not the worst thing in the world, but again, 25K is still a decent hit to your budget at any time. So look, I'm thinking of just going for some value, downgrade Chandler, get some value, and then reassess Next week, we should have a better idea as to, the DPP splits and how close they are to changing. So I might try and make some moves there. But I am definitely keen to get Walsh. I've already got Gorn. Even McRae. Now, I know McRae's been shafted in his 3-round averages shot, but he's like 550k at the moment. I do like him as well. So, I think he'll come good at some stage. And as a forward option, I don't mind it because a lot of people probably won't have him. So that's why I'm trying to keep a little bit of room open for that, and probably just have to play Sheasel and Zeeble, etc. through that sort of keep them in defense at this point. And I might have to thin out my defensive line until I can afford someone. So that is the thoughts in a nutshell. Because this is my segment, I'm going to share. I've got a little bit of, not goodies, basically, but I've got a couple things here that I'll share with you because it has been a couple weeks. So I thought I'll give you a little share with you. So the first one I picked up, it is a special release 2022, and it's pretty much some different whiskey. So cask strength whiskey. And I'll bring this up here. And so I've got some nice, so it's got the Talisker. So the Cardew is the one that I'm really looking at. 16-year-old cask strength Cardew. And they're all 200 mils each. So they're limited release. I might be able to actually show you in their little 200 millers. So it's actually quite nice. Little 200 mils bottles here. So this one is 58%, so cask strength, where Cardew is amazing. The 14-year-old was ridiculous. So I might have just bought that one. That was not cheap. The other one, I can't even say it if it's Lagavulin. I'm not very good. I'll drink it, but I can't pronounce it. This was actually a charred oak cask limited, so it's an Offerman edition. This one, they actually had some ballots for 6 months, basically, where people of the whiskey club had to go for a ballot. And I happened to get one. A guy from work did not. I'm not super into the heavy sort of like smoky, peaty side of it. However, my partner's dad is. And I was like, well, it's rare-ish, as in there wasn't much out there, and they had a ballot, not many in Australia as far as the release. So I was like, well, I'll put my name down. I got one. So I was like, well, obviously I'm going to get it. I'm not just going to pass it up. So that'll be an interesting one. I think it's one of their smokiest and peatiest ever. So that's something to work into. And this last one, I'm super excited. I'm trying not to open ones that I haven't had, right? So I've got ones that are currently open, which it's best to try and get through the open ones a little bit. So you might have seen me. I've gone the Starwood peated finish for this part. And the boys are messaging me saying that they're ready for podcasting. And then the Bushmills are the ones that I've got open at the moment. So I'm trying to get through those. I don't want to have too many open, but this one here looks absolutely ridiculous. It's Overeem Tasmanian one, and it's a Torquay cask finish. Looks ridiculous. The colouring is ridiculous. Looks like it's actually a pretty nice strength as well, 45%. So in that nice range, and it looks ridiculous. So I'm really keen to try this one as well. I think that one was basically, I probably shouldn't put the amount on the air, but it's a little bit. So that's pretty much it for that. So that's pretty much it. I might try and crack some of those open with the boys here and round this out pretty quickly, but cheers to you. All right, so I should probably let them know that I'm just finishing up. So the options I can do, I can actually go Hopper and Chandler, and I can bring in Kennedy. Now, Matt Kennedy is definitely someone I'm looking at. 350k odd, kind of like a poor man's Setterfield, if you will. He can average you 100. He's dropped heaps in cash because of the sub, and he was out of that best 22, played more midfield, kicked Chera out of the CBAs, and is definitely someone who could average you close to 100. And at that price, it's kind of like Ollie Wines last year. Speaking of Ollie Wines, so just finishing up Team Pod. They can wait. Right. So Ollie Wines actually played 79% time on ground, which is huge considering he'd been like 60% or whatever, had the most CBAs for Port as well. So I honestly think he's building. And he's only 420k, I believe. So Ollie Wines is someone I would actually consider. As far as Oliver Wines, is it Ollie Wines? So he's someone that I'm actually considering to bring in at 420k. Now, the last couple of weeks, he's gone a little bit better. 93 this week just gone, and 89 the week before. So he's starting to build a little bit, and he's dropped heaps of cash as well. So, I mean, what is he, 420k? He's dropped 160,000. Average, I think, about 107 last year. Now, he's someone that I wouldn't mind considering just based on that value factor. So if I feel like I'm not going to get a full team, you look at, okay, well, like Ridley at the moment, that sort of price. Now, the thing that's kind of stopping me a little bit is that, so for Wines at that price, I could probably, if I do wait, so it's 4 to 6 weeks, and then a couple of weeks after that for Mills playing, with his really low score, he'll drop to about 420,000 as well. So it's a case of like, well, do I wait? Because it's round 9 going into, so round 10 at the moment, and then 4 to 6 weeks. So that's round 14 to 16, a couple of weeks, round 18. Is it really worth trying to get past the buys to then bring him in cheaply? Probably not, but that's where Matt Kennedy could actually come in. Matt Kennedy comes into your team. You let him play. If he goes all right, he chips away. Mills will get to a price, and then hopefully you could actually go, okay, well, Kennedy down to Mills and actually free some cash up. So that would be the benefit there. Ollie Wine's the same. You could put one of them, him in your side. He might get up to like 520 or whatever. And then if you do need to make some moves, you could actually bring him down and make some moves that way. So that's something I am considering. The other thing I am looking at as well is a little bit left field, and it wouldn't be this week. It probably won't be at all now because Bont did have a bad score with a high, break even's not too bad. Okay. So the other thing I have considered is moving Bont on because I don't have huge amounts of cash generation. If I moved him on, I could free up a couple $100,000 in cash, but that was if I had no rookies coming in, no rookies to go out. So it's not really a situation I have at the moment with Simpson, Filippo, Baker, and Mitchell, etc., earning cash still. So it's not probably going to be the issue for me. But if you have little options, selling Bont out for 720 and then bringing someone in for 520 or whatever and banking cash isn't the worst play in the world if it gets you another premium sooner. So the issue you're going to have is that you are going to rely on maybe Bont having a couple of bad games at some point if you have the trades and want to bring him back in, or it's a race basically where you have your two premiums and where they're going to score you more points than Bont. So it's ridiculous. It's the last option. I wouldn't recommend it unless you are completely strapped for cash. You don't have many rookies at all generating. You don't have many options. Then trading someone who's at a higher price than anyone started this season, a higher price that is not sustainable, then I wouldn't mind. You could go him to someone else that's actually dropped quite a bit. So that would be the crazy play that I wouldn't really recommend so much. I am looking at Sharp if he's named. I don't like him too much, which I'll get into in the podcast anyway. But Rich coming back in. So Rich and Zorko are out. Sharp and someone else came in. Just trying to think. And then the other person I think got dropped. So Zorko came back in. Sharp kept his spot. I'm waiting to see Rich if he does impact his spot as well. Hopper out for 4 to 6 weeks. That just got named. So yeah, he's gone. So yeah, have to get rid of him. So yeah, Monster Taranto, hey. So I think it's just trying to lost my train of thoughts in there. So I can't even think now. Bloody Chris that's why you shouldn't have a watch with your notifications on it. So yeah, just trying to sort of make some moves at that point. So Drury's probably the other one for me. So Sharp I'm looking at possibly, but I don't like his spot in the best 22. Brisbane are really strong. I think they've already just gone with like Wilmot, so they're backing him in. They're backing McKenna in. You have Robertson had, I think it was 27 touches. Lyons had 28 touches. So there's a lot of competition outside of that. But what I will say is that Brisbane look really good through the middle of the field in transition with the speed they have. So when you put Wilmot there, you put Sharp there, you have a few of those others like McKenna that have some legs on them, then Brisbane actually look quite damaging and they're closing speed. So chasing opponents and the rest of it actually looks really impressive. So I don't mind it. I'm not sure if he's going to stay there, but I'm also interested in Drury. But then I'm like, okay, well, maybe with LDU out, does Drury keep his spots and maybe Hall comes in, McDonald plays mid, or whether they'll probably just play Cunnington or someone in the midfield. So Drury's out on teams for that one, but I do like Drury in the fact that it does free up more cash for me. I know he scored horribly, but I wouldn't be having him on field. So I might still look at that and try and run the gauntlet, continue the gauntlet of riskiness for that. But let's just say for continuity's sake, I'm probably looking at going and bringing in, I can go these two out for Kennedy. and I can actually still go and get not Cox, but Cameron. So that's one thing I'm looking at for that point. The issue being that if I do this situation, yes, I get more points on field this week, but then it might leave me a little strapped for cash and downgrade and upgrade cadence into next week, etc. So I don't really envision me having to get rid of anyone just yet. So I might be able to keep them through that first buy and then try and use the additional trades that I'll get through the buys to make that upgrade, particularly round 12 when those extra DPPs come in. So ideally, if I'd make this trade, I'd probably want to sit on the rest of my team, which is risky because that's 2 weeks with rookies, or 1 week with rookies anyway, I think, as far as on field, and then it's best 18. So rookies will play, and you just want as many fresh, hot bodies on the field as possible. So I don't mind this option. The Cameron coming in does cause me a little concern because if Gawn gets forward status, then that's pretty much my forward line done, unless I throw one of them into the midfield for a little bit of flexibility. So that's it. Let me know. The other one I was considering is instead of these ones is just pretty much doing fairly similar, except just even looking at either a premium, so going like a Sicily. Part of me wants to just wait as well. I do have a spot here, but now with Sinclair stinking it up, he's looking to lose like 20k or something just in this next week. So I'm looking at even maybe trying to prioritize him. They have the first buy as well, so he should be perfect for after that buy. So keep a spot there, keep some forwards, which pretty much leaves a midfield spot. None of the mids are killing it so much that I just have to get them, so I'm pretty happy there. So part of me is even thinking if I go Wines, then I could just keep him as my M8 sort of scenario. I bring in Drury and just sort of play him from the bench, and then I've got 320k where I can actually make some upgrades elsewhere. So that's the other thing I'm sort of looking at this point. Just different, more because I don't have huge cash flow, trying to go a little bit different as far as value to fill my team and get some of these rookies off the field. So with that bank, I can go, okay, well, in 2 weeks, so when round 12 DPP comes in, straight away, I can go, right, well, Gawn, you're out here. Maybe I can try and get English into that ruck line and use the money there. Ashcroft, I should be able to then upgrade after that buy to go, right, 200,000 on you or less. I'm targeting Lockie Neal, who should be 550k or around that about at his buy. So they have a lot of home games coming home. So I want to keep that spot for Lockie Neal. Ollie Wines, I'd like to be able to maybe trade for Mills if trades permits at that point. So he can hold me, make some cash, get the rookie off field, etc. Him or Kennedy, depending on teams. And I can go to Mills later and try and maybe free up some cash to hopefully, if I have trades and some luck with injuries, I could maybe have a swing player on that bench to help me with Ridley scenario and with the Sheasel scenario. So that's the flexibility that I'm looking for. Drury can obviously get off the field there. I'd probably be looking at doing something else. So this is the risky part, obviously. For the weak, Sincotta, Mitchell. So Mitchell would then come back into this defense forward line. Sincotta would play on field, probably if he scores well enough. Young hopefully comes back as well, where I should be able to use Constable as a bit of a swing anyway to loophole. So loopholing Sincotta, Mitchell. So Sincotta, Young with Constable hopefully, and then throwing Mitchell into this forward line. And then trying to loophole sort of Mitchell, Simpson, Filippo to kind of, or even Drury plays early, and put the E on some of these guys to get some bit of flexibility DPP just through forward and defense until I get that DPP news coming in. So that's me. That's the risk reward with the bench options at this point in time. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if you too are trying to hold off for some value. So when you're looking at Sinclair in defense, whether you're looking at Mills, looking at Lockie Neal in the midfield as well as value coming down. Are you looking at Zach Merritt? I recommend highly if you don't have Zach Merritt for the value he is at this point in time. His role's a bit sketchy at the moment, but he has a soft run coming up, so I do like him. And then, so I'm looking on Gorney in the forward line. I'm looking at Walsh is a big one, and also looking at McRae as those options to come in. So that's why I'm kind of holding off in forward line. That's why I'm kind of holding off in defense. And so maybe look for some value in the meantime, get some rookies off field and load up for the buys. That's me. I'll talk to you soon. Let me know how you're going. Let me know how you're traveling. Let me know if you're kicking my ass. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.